Once again, Sir Early, NC 252 region. Yesterday, I did North Carolina news, right? And along with that, I added Ray Carruth. Those of you all that don't know Ray Carruth, Ray Carruth was a football player for the Carolina Panthers. He was number 89, the wide receiver. And like when the Carolina Panthers first started, he was on that team. And little short story about him. You know how stars, you the jock, you the star and shit like that. He just didn't want to have a baby by this girl. You get what I'm saying? And he at the height of his football career, ready to be a star. He ready to travel, do this and that. And then all of a sudden, he gets his girl pregnant and shit. And for some reason, he just didn't want to have the. He felt like killing her. You get what I'm saying? Will keep him from having a kid. And like to this day, I still don't know why he did that shit because that girl was like good looking. You get what I'm saying? And regardless of that, I think he was in a relationship and he was trying to hide that shit too. So I don't know. Y'all just listen at this story for you all self. And he's actually he been released since what last year or 2019. So he done did his 18 years. He was sentenced to 18 to 23 years. You get what I'm saying? For conspiracy to second degree murder. You get what I'm saying? And shooting at it's some shooting charge. So him and his accomplice Van Brett Watkins, they both got the same goddamn, they were found guilty of the same thing, but Van Watkins got 50 years. He'll be released in 2045. He actually has already completed his sentence for killing this girl. Now he has to restart another sentence. So instead of him getting his sentence ran concurrent, you get what I'm saying? They got them box caught of his time, meaning that the judge will say, all right, we're going to give you 50 years for two different crimes. So, all right, in some cases, the judge will take those two charges and just make it into one, meaning that instead of you doing the whole 50 years, you will just do 25. But basically, they making him complete a sentence. He done already did 18, 19 years of his sentence. Now that sentence is terminated. So now he's restarting a whole new sentence. And by the time he finished this sentence, it will be 2045. I'm talking about Van Brett Watkins. This is the trigger man, allegedly. You get what I'm saying? So enough of me gibbering and jabbing and shit like that. I'm gonna let y'all down. Let me get this shit set up for y'all. Salute, salute again. Bringing y'all that content. Y'all see my vids and shit. Got some spare ribs and shit. I'm preparing and shit like that. I'm gonna show y'all my meal I'm doing for today. Also dropped the video of one of my cats grooming themselves. So if y'all didn't know how cats groom themselves, you'll see. You get what I'm saying? Them cats actually get their hands wet, palms wet, and actually wipe their face and shit. That shit is like unique and shit like that. But other than that, man, I'm gonna let y'all get into this. Enough of looking at me and hearing me. This is a good story right here. The Ray Carruth story.
that she told him, I'm going to have my baby. I'm going to have my baby. And if you're going to be there with me and my baby, then fine. If not, I have enough support.
911 Baker, you need police, fire, or medic?
Police, I've been shot. I'm 8 months pregnant.
Okay, ma'am, you're 8 months pregnant. You've been shot. You're at Wessex Square.
Community.
Okay, ma'am, I'm going to connect you to medic. Continue to talk to them because, ma'am, we have to help you. We have to find out where you are.
Where's your husband at?
And my husband.
Or your boyfriend, the one you said that was with you? Where's he
He's
at?
in the car in front of me and he's slowed down until I pulled up beside me and did this.
And got?
He's a rap.
Okay. All right. What's his name?
Ray Carruth. He played for the Panthers.
Okay. What's his name?
Ray Carruth.
Ray Carruth.
89.
The wonderful first date turned into a horrific plot for murder.
Ray Carruth had called me and he asked me if I had a hoop deal, a car that's not flashy, that doesn't stand out, that he could get that night. And I told him that I had a Maxima, and he told me to come over his house. And he asked me, do I know where he can get a gun at? I was like, why you wanted a gun? And he was like, he was wanting to get Sharika because she was pregnant, and he didn't want to pay no another $5,000 or some odd dollars a month in child support. And then people on the team was saying that he can't be having no baby by no stripper, stuff like that. He said that he had a friend that was gonna do it, and he was talking about William.
He called me, and I met him. So he said, how much would it take to beat up a girl and make her abort her baby? I said, I don't know, beat up no girl, I killed it.
I told him that I didn't want to do it. I was like, I don't want to, I don't have no part. And I said, because anything can happen, I could get killed, anything. And he was like, something still can happen to you regardless because you know about it.
So he had a code for, I don't want the dog to get out, I need the fence. And that was the code, he don't want the baby to get out, he needs Sharika killed.
What I want, he said, I want my man to ride with you. We was talking about William. He said, ride with you. He said, when we leave the movies, he said, I'm going to call you, and I want y'all to follow me down this road right here. That he was going to stop, and he wanted the guy that was riding with us to shoot the girl that he had pregnant. And I was just so scared, I didn't say nothing else. I didn't think she was dead that night. Because I had to look back, I seen like her brake lights blink on. So I didn't think she was dead then.
I just remember dropping to my knees and just wailing. Just, God, just please don't let my baby die. But when I got there, they met me and told me that Sharika was already in surgery to have the baby by cesarean section. I immediately decided, oh my God, I gotta call Ray because I bet he doesn't know what's happened. Somehow she got shot going home or whatever. And I'm like, I gotta call him. So I had two numbers. I had a cell phone number and a beeper number for him. And so I just continually just kept calling both, no answer. During that time before he came, I remember, they came out and told me that they had to revive Chancellor and that he had severe damage to his brain because of the lack of oxygen and blood. And so, you're hearing all this from the doctors and still no Ray. And finally, he comes in with an entourage. Ray comes in with the guy that did go to the movies with him. It was his friend Hannibal. And he actually came with another woman. I went over like a mad woman. I let him know that I know you knew what happened to her. You know what happened to her. And you did it. You did it. He finally said he wanted to go see his son. So we got down to the NICU and they let us in, and Chancellor is hooked up to all these tubes and in the incubator and everything. The nurse was telling us, we couldn't take him out, but we could stick our finger in to touch him or whatever. So I do remember asking him if he wanted to touch him. And he said no. He just wanted to get a picture of him. And he said, because this might be the last time I get to see him. I had so much peace about making the decision to take Sharika off of life support because she was existing. She was not living. When she died, she looked like she did when she was born. And it was such a surreal moment for me.
he got a message on his answering machine from his attorney who said that Sharika Adams had passed away. About 10 o'clock that night, he decided, I'm going to contact an old friend, Wendy Cole, and he said he begged her to take him to California.
My reaction to Ray fleeing to Tennessee with yet another girlfriend was just another very big display of his cowardice.
I received a call from the FBI in Charlotte and telling me that they have an arrest warrant for Ray Carruth. And they had developed information that he was in a motel in Wildersville, Tennessee. So we went into the hotel, spoke to the manager, and she told us, yes, there was a young lady, Wendy Cole, staying in that room. And a short time later, Miss Cole walked down. I asked her if Ray Carruth was with her. She said no. I said, where's he at? She said, well, I'm not sure, but he's around here. And I sat down on the side of the bed and I said, you know where he is, don't you? She just stared, and then I said, where is he, Wendy? And she looked at the keys, and I didn't pick up on it the first time. I said, where is he, Wendy? And she looked at the keys again. He's in the trunk, isn't he? I said, Ray? He said, yeah. This is Mark Post. I'm with the FBI, and I have agents surrounded the car. We're going to pop the trunk. As soon as we pop the trunk, just enough for your hands to come out. That's the first thing I want to see is those hands come out. And his hands came right out.
Yes, I had concerns, but on the other hand, we had Sharika Adams, and she was the strongest witness for herself to her own murder.
911, Baker, any police, fire, or attic?
Police, I've been shot. I'm 8 months pregnant.
Okay, ma'am, you're 8 months pregnant. You've been shot. You're at Wessex Square.
That was probably the largest piece of evidence in the entire trial, and they pulled it out on day one, minute one.
It just showed the courage and the strength of this young woman and her character, that she was fighting to hold on to life long enough to tell somebody what had happened and who had done it, and to try to save her baby.
Yeah, I don't have any doubt that that was the most important evidence. And I have no doubt that whatever Sharika said was her honest impression at the time.
Ma'am, can you give me any information about what kind of car it was?
No.
Where's your husband at?
I don't have one.
Or your boyfriend, the one you said that was with you? Where's he at?
was in the car in front of me, and he slowed down, and somebody pulled up beside me and did this.
And then where'd he go?
He just left.
Okay. All right, what's his name?
Ray Carruth. He played for the Panthers.
Okay, what's his name?
Ray Carruth.
Ray
Number 89.
The part that she said, I think she said number 89 or number 88 or whatever number he was. I'm having his baby. He stopped in front of me and they started shooting. I don't remember all the exact words, but something to that effect. And I was kind of thinking to myself, would I have the wherewithal to come up with that stuff if I'd been just been shot? How you couldn't help but believe her seemed almost impossible to me.
You know, I have never believed that he hired Van Brett Watkins or Michael Kennedy to harm Sharika in any way. And the evidence at the trial was that neither of them got paid anything or received anything for doing this. And indeed, there was no, quote, planning for this until the very day that it all happened. And that's just not how a murder for hire takes place. I mean, they even had to go and get a gun that day. So the whole thing just didn't make sense to me.
My impression of David was that he came up with an alternate set of possibilities that were never backed up by anything in the testimony that I ever heard.
As we got more into the trial and as we got into deliberations, we kept going back to that 911 call. And we just, couldn't wrap our hands around why would she say some of the things she said at this moment if they weren't true. That was probably 90% of why I voted the way I voted.
Did you say, I hope the bitch dies? Did you say that?
That's the bitch I was talking about.
Oh, I see.
Right, Carruth. That's your client, the bitch.
Nobody wanted to be within arm's length of Van Brett Watkins.
I was very glad the marshals were between me and him.
He had a look in his eyes that I've maybe only seen once or twice in my life. It was the look of, I can do whatever I want to do to whoever I want to do it to.
If you pushed enough of Van Brett Watkins' buttons, you could see what a violent anger management problem he had.
So you're sort of a hitman without a weapon. Is that what you are?
If that's what you want to say.
Well, that's what you were, according to you.
If that's what I could kill you with my hands. Okay.
Is that what you were?
I could kill you with my hands.
And the court was convinced by Carruth's attorney to find him to be a hostile witness to them, even though they were calling him, and allowed them to cross-examine him. They, I would use the term, pushed him to the point where he, at one point, actually threatened Carruth's attorney.
And so did he say, well, you go on back and you go get that gun, because I don't need to be spending another $200 and having Mr. Kennedy running all around all night looking for a gun when
I didn't need a gun. Okay, for me to kill somebody, I don't need a gun. Can't you look and see? I'm 286 pounds. Okay, I would rip you like a rag doll.
I'm 286 pounds, and I could rip you limb from limb like a little rag doll.
I'll tear you up like a rag doll.
I'll shake you like a rag doll.
I could rip you apart like a rag doll.
Right after that, I said, I have no further questions.
I'm done, Your Honor. Anything, Charlie?
You're right about that.
I mean, you go back in that jury room and you look at each other and you think, oh my God, did that just happen?
That influenced me. This guy was dangerous, without a soul.
The ball was dropped because the judge asked them. And I think they were so overconfident that the conspiracy and the murder charge would go together that they didn't even put second degree on the table for Ray. What he did did was a very horrific and just unimaginable thing. And it deserves the harshest punishment. He deserves to be dead for what he did to my daughter.
I think he should have been convicted of first-degree murder. And everything that we saw in court backed that up. David Rudolph didn't come up with any good alternative explanation for the facts that we had. I wouldn't have had any problem dispensing the death sentence if that would work out.
They found him guilty of everything he told them would make him guilty of first-degree murder. They found him guilty of conspiracy to commit murder, aiding and abetting, if you will, acting in concert. They found him guilty of firing into an occupied vehicle, felony murder. And in addition, they found him guilty of trying to kill the unborn child. And they found him not guilty of first-degree murder, which they did not follow the law.
At one point, I asked a question, is there anybody in here who doesn't think Carruth is up to this and up to his eyeballs? And everybody said, yes, they agreed that he was. But we still had a juror who would not go for the first degree. So we did have a compromise verdict. We said, okay, we'll agree that he's guilty of all the lesser charges, but we'll say we cannot convict on first degree. And that's the way it went down.
I think in some strange way, the jury sort of figured it out and sort of compromised to a place that, you know, even Ray can accept, okay, I get it. I'm responsible for this situation. So I needed to pay a price. And so, you know, I'm not sitting here declaring victory, but in a strange sort of way, I think, you know, the jury probably got it right.
There was no winner in this case. I mean, it was just a tragedy all around. After the verdict, I mentioned my admiration for Sandra Adams. She asked us to join her in a room outside the courtroom. She and Jeff and Wanda and Jeff Jr. and some other friends and relatives, I guess, of theirs, formed a circle. And she prayed for us, prayed for Ray Carruth, prayed for Van Brett Watkins. It was an incredibly moving moment. I'll never forget.
Now, what do you call your grandmother?
Kim Paul.
And what do you call your mother?
Paul. There you go.
Mommy Angel.
Can you say it again?
Paul. There you go.
Mommy Angel, that's right.
I'm raising Ray Carruth's son. And I don't believe that there's any way that I could hate a part of Chancellor and say that I love him unconditionally. You can't do that. So to love him unconditionally would be to love every part of Chancellor. And Ray Carruth is a part of Chancellor. Chancellor does not think he's disabled. He is abled differently. So he does not conduct himself like a helpless person. That strong athletic ability that Chancellor has and he displays when he's doing his therapy, and it's not even just therapy, it's the day-to-day task that we take so much for granted that he has to put so much effort into doing. I see Sharika coming through that fight and that determination. And I must give credit to Ray Carruth because I think Ray has some of those same qualities, because you couldn't make it to the NFL just being mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost grateful that it happened because it has shown me a part of me that I didn't know lived in there. I am bigger than I thought I was. I am more faithful than I thought I was. I'm more loving and compassionate than I ever thought I could be. And for that, I really have Ray Carruth to thank. Van Brett Watkins was the only one of the four that actually reached out to me to ask for some forgiveness in the beginning. And he expressed remorse, and I believed him. Van Brett Watkins sent me a letter expressing that, and I did write back to him, and it's dated April 18th in 2003, and I said to him, Mr. Watkins, you know I am suffering. Because of your actions, I will never be able to hold my beautiful daughter Sharika again. Because of your actions, my grandson Chancellor cannot do the simplest things, like call me grandmommy or play ball with the other children. But despite my grief, I want you to know that I have forgiven you. I know you are suffering too for the horrible choice you made that day. I want you to know that you will always be in my thoughts and prayers, and I wish you peace. Sandra Adams. I don't even want to see Ray Carruth go to hell. I want him to come to repentance because Ray is never going to have peace in his life until he tells the truth.